oh baby, what do we have here? Someone is trying to...
Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird on Instagram, Ravelry, and YouTube. I believe this is episode number 18 of the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast. Yeah, I'm coming to you, as many of you know, in a world that feels a little bit wild. Yeah, you know, I recorded a month ago and I feel like things have changed so drastically since then. You know, it's like almost tough to think about how to approach this. Last time I recorded, I ended saying that I was going to visit Portland, Oregon, and I was planning on hosting a meetup, and I was really looking forward to that. And at the time, it really felt safe to think about traveling. Like, things were a little bit sketchy, but I didn't feel like I was like putting anyone at undue risk. And then within a couple of days, I think after I recorded that, we got word that the college that I work at was sending all of the students home, along with a lot of other colleges and universities in Boston, which is where I live. And it just, like, I don't know, something changed in like the air. And well, I'm preaching to the choir. Everyone is living this right now. So the last couple of weeks have been really making adjustments into what working from home looks like. I've been having, it's been going. I'm very grateful for the management at the college that I work for and my like direct manager, because they've just been very, I just really am aware that I am in like the best case scenario for this situation, and I'm very grateful for it and trying to be very cognizant. That being said, a lot of people I know are out of work and, etc. So, yeah, I'm just another story and voice in this sea of people who are feeling and experiencing very similar things in the US and Canada and, the whole world. But I think right now, it's our time to shine, so to speak. So, I didn't really want to talk a lot about it, but I think it's impossible not to, and it would be inauthentic not to. I know, like a lot of other people have been describing, that my mood has been going up and down, feeling pretty like okay, settled one day, and then not feeling so much like that the next. So I wanted to wait for a moment when I felt a little bit better about what was going on and just like had higher spirits, because I don't want to, I know that people watch this for entertainment. I have a piece of cinnamon bread, like cinnamon sugar bread. So, okay, let me digress for a moment. I've been baking a lot of sourdough bread, which is something I talked about a little bit ago, and now apparently it's like this, everyone's been making fun of all the people baking bread, but I have been working on my bread, and I made the best loaf to date last night, and I, as a little snack, made myself a piece of toast with butter and cinnamon sugar on it, which is total comfort food, something I used to eat when I was a kid a lot. And Moose, who is right in the midst of shenanigans, totally jumped up and like took a lick and just did not like it. So she is up and at 'em, so hopefully she'll be behaved decently, but we'll see. Do you want to go out? We'll see how that goes. Okay, where was I? Where was I going? Yeah, I just know that this is very much entertainment and like a way for people to connect and also a little bit to disengage from what's going on like in day-to-day life. And unfortunately, like that's just not my reality and not a lot of other people. So I think that you know, again, I don't want to be inauthentic, and that's like a really big part of why I'm present here in the first place. So yeah, you know, stuff is rough, and I know a lot of other people are feeling it. You know, I assumed that I would be doing a lot of knitting because that's kind of what I do to meditate and blah blah blah, but what I've found is that I don't need to meditate. I need to really like escape from what's going on. I don't need to be thinking more than I already am. You know, so while I have a lot to show you in FOs and whips and whatnot, but I also don't have as much as I guess I thought I would because I've been playing a lot of video games. And I have no regrets about this. It's really just made the last few weekends like way more bearable. And yeah, that's been, you know, I've just been reflecting on that, and I don't feel bad about it because a lot of us are, you know, just trying to get by right now. I definitely haven't been sleeping as well, which I think I've been hearing from a lot of people. So, you know, I mean, again, I feel very fortunate that I'm like in the best case scenario that I could be in right now. And, you know, I'm just gonna keep going and see where we end up. Yeah. So I'm gonna start with FOs because I haven't shown off any in a minute, and I have one, actually a couple exciting, like long lingering whips. So the first one is this shawl that is now heavily modified, but it is called the Together Shawl by Sophia Kamiborn. And so I talked about this. I had started casting it off when I was in Rhinebeck in October. And as I was doing that, I thought I had measured against my favorite shawl that I wear a lot and thought that it was the right length. But as I bound it off, I'm not sure how the measurement didn't quite end up working out, but regardless, as I was binding off, I realized it was like the depth that I wanted it, but it wasn't the length. So I've talked about this before. I'll link the episode that I talked about it up here. And so I decided I was going to add a garter edge, but do short rows to make basically like the middle stay the same length, but give me some extra length on the edges. And I sat down a couple weekends ago, maybe 3 or 4 weekends ago, and just like banged it out in like 2 days. And I was like, of course, why wouldn't I think that it was this easy? So this is the result. You can see, let me see if I can see how there's like this, I don't know if you can tell, but basically there's this big strip of garter, and it gets thinner as we get closer to the center, and then there's hardly any of it. So yeah, and it's the perfect weight. It's a very woolly yarn. The yarn is BC yarn. I don't have that accent. And it hangs really nicely. Let me see if I can kind of, nope, okay, well. And I blocked it, and it fluffed up really nicely. It's a very light fingering. BC Yarns Bio Shetland that I got from Webs less than a year ago. So yeah, this is what I was planning on making with it, and there were some adjustments and a little bit of lag time, but it's all set. It's very warm, really nice, light, again, light and warm. That's why wool. That's why we love wool. So, yeah, and it's just the natural sheep color. So, really love that one. Already have been wearing it quite a bit. And I think it'll transition well into springtime. And then, okay, and then the other long suffering whip that I did want to talk about a little bit are these socks. Yay, all done. These are out of Mondim from Retrosaria, and it's a non-superwash sock yarn. I knit them very tightly on double zeros. I think it's like 10 stitches per inch, which is kind of why they lingered for so long, is just because it was killing my hands, quite frankly. So I learned a lesson there. You know, I've been talking about my sock knitting for a while. And just like my adjustments that I've been making. Actually, I don't think these are double zero. I think they're just zeros. But anyway, so one thing I wanted to say is in the video where I initially had started knitting them and was talking about it, I showed the skein and I pulled from the center of this ball. So this is what the remnants of the ball look like. So what I said in that video was that the contrast between the colors seemed like more stark looking at the outside of this ball of yarn than what the sock actually looked like knit up. So during the second sock that I was knitting, I got to this point where there was a knot in the yarn, which like happens, right, as spinning like in the mills, like you just run out at some point and you tie a knot to like join it. And I just kept knitting. I mean, I secured the ends a little bit better and then I kept knitting. And then, I also just found a hole in my brand new socks. That's really a bummer. That might be mousse. Man. Okay, anyway. What am I saying? Right, so I secured the end and I kept knitting normally, and then I realized, look at this, like it happened somewhere in here where that knot was, and there's definitely like a difference in the rest of the sock. So I was right that the contrast, like this is what I thought the contrast would look like and not like this. And so I mean, I don't really mind and I like get it, but I think that some people would be upset by that there's basically like two different dye lots in the same skein. So that was just interesting. Yeah, but I'm very happy with how they turned out. I think I mentioned this last time that they're basically the best fitting pair of socks that I have. Like they just fit the way that I like them to. Yeah, so those are the two that I've been talking about that are now finally done. So that feels good, except now that has a hole in it. Not sure how that happened. I'm not sure if it's a drop stitch or a hole or a critter, which could be moose or could be a bug, ate through it, but anyway. And then the final FO, aside from buttons, that I have is also out of Mondim, a different colorway. And that is Elizabeth Zimmerman's baby surprise jacket. Look how cute! Why did I knit a baby cardigan? No reason. I've had this pattern and I like know of it. It's sort of like iconic, right? Where you just knit this square and then it sort of turns into this very cute baby cardigan. And so let me show you. I've had this pattern, which I got from like a hard copy from, I think I ordered it online with something else. And you basically get this like bizarre shape. And then you like join it together and it turns into the little baby cardigan. And two people, Grace Rother, who I've talked about before, and I'm gonna tag her down below, and Jess Daniels, who is a friend of mine from when I worked at Verb and who is also part of the Emtothethird make-along. Both were knitting it sort of inspired, like Jess was inspired by Grace. I had also been inspired by Grace and then Jess, and I was like, I'm gonna knit one too. And I like cranked that baby out. So, except not a real baby, the baby sweater. I am gonna insert right here a picture of Maple wearing it because she is my baby. But yeah, it was just like a fun little thing. And maybe one day I will show you my stash of baby knits because I do have a stash of baby knits. And that was something that I had to confess to Kay when we first started dating. And it has only grown. So the other thing that I got started on, because why not when the world is kind of falling to shit, is I spun up some fiber that I've had in my stash. So I bought just like a braid of fiber from Hello Yarn, Adrian, who does like beautiful colorways, and I spun the singles over the course of a couple of days, let it sit for about 48 hours, and then chain plied it, which I've never done before. And this is the skein. It's so pretty. I mean, that's why I bought the skein, is because it's definitely like my colors. But the chain plying, so why you would chain ply as opposed to anything else is because, hold on, Maple just got back from the wall. So the reason you would chain ply is because when you have all of your singles, let me see. Okay, I'm trying to think of like a good way to explain this. So if you're using like spin cycle, which a lot of people at this point know, you're basically using the singles and randomly plying them together so that there's two strands that are any number of different colors that are being plied together, and you get a very random color pooling effect. So that's sort of what happens when you have singles and then you ply them with other colorful singles. Chain plying, you're basically plying the skein on itself. And so what ends up happening because of that is that you end up getting big, thick blocks of one specific color. So like where this green, greeny, browny, lovely, olivey kind of color is, there'll just be a big thick chunk, almost like I would be knitting like these stripes, but the yarn is just gonna do that itself. More similar to like Noro, if you're familiar with that. So I'd never chain plied before, but it was super simple. Got the hang of it really quick, and I think this yarn just turned out really, really nice. It's very even. I think my singles are like perfect. It's not overspun at all, so I'm really looking forward to knitting with this, and I think I'm actually going to do that now that I've recorded this. I just wanted to make sure I showed it to you all beautiful and skeined up before I got started knitting it. So those are my FOs. I'm pretty stoked on all of them. I haven't been doing any sewing, and I don't feel bad about it. I also, this frequently happens to me when I'm a little stressed out. I let bigger projects languish and focus my attention on smaller projects, just because the ability to see the end and have the end in sight and finish it is more motivating to me than just like cranking away forever on smaller projects. So I am still working on my juniper sweater and my cotton grass jumper, but they haven't made really significant progress. So when those have made more progress, I'll let you know. Okay, so now on to whips and future plans. Maple just came in to say hi to me because she got back from her walk and she is so wet. Ugh. Oh my god. Ew. It's raining outside. Ugh. You smell. You need a bath. Should we give you a bath? Oh. I think that's a no. So the one whip I haven't talked about is also okay. Hold on. Backtracking. I'm also working on, aside from the big sweaters, I'm also working on another baby cardigan, again for no reason aside that they're fun and really cute. It's from this book from Kelburn Woolens that I was introduced to when I was working at Verb. And so the one that I'm knitting is this little like hooded jumper. So that I'm also knitting out of handspun yarn. And this handspun I talked about a while ago. I'll link the video where I talked about it up here. And it's this lovely marled yarn that is also fiber from Hello Yarn. And Adrienne has been, I feel like, in my life a lot recently because she's also like a sourdough bread queen. And a while ago she sent me some starter, which was awesome because we both live in Massachusetts. She used to live in Boston. And so we've kind of chatted a lot on Instagram, and she sent me a starter, which was really awesome and amazing, and that's the one that I'm still using now. It's definitely been in hibernation for a while, but now it's out and going. And so, you know, she's always baking bread and is very generous with her knowledge. In fact, she just uploaded a recipe and blog post about her bread baking, so I'll link that below because if you're interested, that's a great place to kind of explore. So anyway, I started this little sweater and it's basically knit flat. It's knit flat, like the back of it, and then it comes over and you like add stitches for the armholes. So it's basically like a big T shape, and then you knit the front and then pick up and do the hood. So I honestly am not sure if I'll have enough yarn, but I figure if it's kind of a hodgepodge project, that's fine. So yeah, again, just like a kind of quick thing that like I can see progress on, because right now a lot of things don't feel like progress is being made on them. So it's nice to have something to work on that does. And the other thing that's coming up is that I'm going to be doing, I'm doing some like work with Brooklyn Tweed. I don't want to share too much because it's a secret. But I'm doing some stuff with Brooklyn Tweed, and that project is coming in the mail soon, like the yarn for it. So I'm going to have to kind of switch gears and get going on that soon. But yeah, like in general, they're expanding their size range, and I'm very excited to be knitting some of their new patterns. So I'll be excited to share that with you when it's time, but for now, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna go grab something. So speaking of Brooklyn Tweed, I've been thinking, like, because of the Emtothethird make-along, thinking a lot about wardrobe and like what it needs, and especially because I'm like for the first time in a professional environment, also thinking about that. And one of the things I really have been wanting are like open cardigans, but I want it to, like, I have a very specific way that I imagine it fitting in my head, and it's frequently difficult to find ready to wear pieces that fit. I mean, right, in general, but for my body shape in particular, to fit the way that I sort of envision it fitting. So I found a couple, and I think like my end goal is to knit both of them at some point. But the one that I'm most excited about and have the yarn for is this. It's by Bristol Ivy. It's called Keel. I'll insert a color photo of it. But it's basically like an open cardigan like I'm thinking, but there's texture to it. It's, oh wait, let me, so it's like this open cardigan, but the construction is really interesting because it's a Bristol Ivy pattern. There's a lot of texture to it, and it's a fingering weight, so it'll be nice and light. And I had 3 skeins of this yarn that is from Foxhill Farms, which is in Massachusetts somewhere. Lee, Massachusetts, and they're usually at Rhinebeck and the New England Fiber Festival. Is that what it's called? The one that's in Springfield, Massachusetts. So I bought some of it. Oh, and they're at the Boston Farm and Fiber Festival where I vended. That's why. So I bought 3 skeins of it a year ago, the first time I vended there. And I loved it, and I had a plan for it, but I think I didn't have quite enough for what I was planning to do with it. And it was going to be for Kay, and I was worried it was going to be too delicate for Kay specifically. So I started looking at this pattern, and I thought like a natural, like off-white gray, this beautiful color, would be perfect for that cardigan, which is written for loft, which is, you know, it's not a woolen spun. It might be partially woolen spun, but I wanted something similar, lightweight, still really nice to wear, blah, 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 etc., etc. But I didn't have enough in my stash. So I went during the Farm and Fiber Festival expecting to buy 3 more skeins, and I didn't have the tag, and I couldn't quite remember what it was, so I wanted to make sure that it was right. And they don't have a website or anything. When I bought it last year, they were like, if you need more, give us a call. And I was like, So I went to this other fiber festival that's very small. There's like this garden center, maybe like 45 minutes outside of Boston, and they host they have like farmers markets during the winter, and then they have one day where they focus on fiber vendors, and I knew that this farm, Foxhill, was going to be there. So I decided to go because I wanted to check it out anyway, because I was thinking of maybe applying to be a vendor, and I brought my tag and I did find 3 more skeins, same dye lot, same year, all the above. And she was like, you could have just called if you needed more. And I was like, I'm a millennial. I don't like calling people on the phone. Just kidding. But no, I just knew that I was going to go to that. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's kind of coming up the pipeline. The other one is a cardigan that my upstairs neighbor Melissa knit out of mezcla, and it's called Andromeda by Quince and Co. And I think it just fits her really well, and I'm not sure if I want to make one for me or if I should make one to show off my yarn. Although right now I have to tell you, like, this situation is really making me think about a lot of things in terms of small businesses and job security and whatnot, as I think it probably is for a lot of people. So yeah, you know, anyway, I'm trying to avoid talking about this, but it's just totally infiltrating everything, so it's tough, you know. I know you know. Another like thing that I'm planning on doing, this is the leftover yarn from my Into the Wood socks. This is Urso Yarn Company, and this is a skein of Farmer's Daughter. I don't know if you can like see the sparkle, but I know it's like kind of a boring color, but there's stellina in it, and it's like a rose gold bronze stellina. So I thought that it would be cool to do like cuff heel and toes in this and kind of just make it look like a little rusticy cute sock. But again, I'm sort of like, this happened to me the first time I did 12 pairs of socks in 12 months, is that the next year I was like, I never want to knit a sock ever again. So I'm kind of feeling that a little bit. I mean, technically, the socks that I showed you at the beginning of the episode are like my 12th pair because I didn't finish them until this year. So probably going to be collecting sock yarn this year, and then next year I'm going to crank out 12 more pairs. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all, folks. That's all, folks. I've just, the Emtothethird make-along is still going on. I'm still working on my stuff. March is mending month. I plan to upload about 4 videos about mending. And man, the wind blew out of my sails when all of this sort of started going down. But I'm still going on it. People are still talking about it in our Slack channel. We have had one virtual knit night, which was a lot of fun. I think 9 people tuned in, or there were 9 people total, including myself. And yeah, definitely we're gonna be doing another one on Monday night. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up down below for our Slack channel to get more info and to join the community. I'm very appreciative of everyone in there, and yeah, we're just keeping on, you know, and trying time for sure, but it's not the end of the world. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm just gonna keep knitting. I know you're gonna keep knitting, and I'm grateful for where I'm at in the midst of all of this. And I hope you're doing okay too, and your family is doing okay. And any other loved ones you have. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll see you later. Bye.